What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Boozer here. Thanks for stopping by. Got a bit of Plarium news here today, as well as some big news for upcoming updates in the game. But first, let's go over the event that's going to be happening tomorrow, and that's going to be the Summon Rush event. Now, we do have a Summon Rush right here. It's going to happen in about 10 hours. Going to have Titan event points in it, as well as these relic materials. So definitely some goodies there to chase if you guys have the resources to do so. It's going to be a Summon Rush, so basically it's going to be the value of the shard pull, not from the quality of the champion pull. And we will have a progressive event, and here it is, progressive event showing above me here. The big takeaway from this progressive event is probably Balor the Lost. So Balor the Lost, one of the newest champions released in the game. He is a Sylvan Watcher, and he is a Spirit Affinity attack-based champion. Now, he brings a interesting kit. He has good base attack, so he's, basically attack-based damage dealer with the boosted crit damage and all that, but he's actually going to find a spot, I think, in Chimera. So quickly going over Balor's kit here, he's got an A1 before attacking, a shield buff on this champion. The shield is proportional to the attack. Also has a 50% chance of placing poison sensitivity for 2 turns, up to 75% when fully booked. Now, this is not, the most common debuff, which is, obviously a huge plus for Chimera as well. So this handles one of the trials. His A2 here has a 4-turn cooldown down to 3 turns, places Leech on a single target, as well as activates poisons. Now, Leech is also part of a trial for Chimera. It's not super easy to get on a teammate. That has other benefits, of course, and it instantly activates all the poisons, which is kind of a good thing because it deals the damage right away without occupying debuff slots, for example. And this is on a 3-turn cooldown. And then lastly, it's A3 here. Increase accuracy, which is again part of a Chimera trial. Decrease resistance, which again is part of a Chimera trial. This one's actually quite difficult because not a lot of champions that are good have this. The big one being Galathyr, for example. Or if you somehow make Sulfurion work in the team. It also places 3 poison debuffs, which is awesome. And if you build him with 100% crit rate, he can land 3 poisons on the whole wave instead. Similar to how Tomb Lord requires a bunch of stats for his poisons to land. Balor has a similar thing here going on with his A3. He comes with a passive that boosts his ignore defense for each poison activated by this champion up to 20%. And then he gets a bit of turn meter whenever a poison is placed on enemy. It comes with accuracy in all battles as well. I think, he's a solid champion for Chimera for sure. His base multiplier 3.8 on the A1, 5.5 on the A2, and I think 5.8 on the A3. Pretty good. They are single target, so they tend to be a little bit higher. But since he brings relevant debuffs, and handle some of the tougher trials, I think it's definitely well worth it and good value for his abilities. So anyways, he's going to be up for grabs for the upcoming weekend Summon Rush. We also have from the demon spawns here, we got Kymar. Prince Kymar, still very, very powerful champion, obviously for a lot of dungeon wave, dungeon content, fast dungeon clears, for example. Of course, his big thing here is the all skill reset here. He doesn't really require books. He doesn't need to be 60 to do what he needs to do, which is basically just use his ability. And this guy has stood the test of time. He's still as useful today as he was back in the day. Next champion up for grabs, we have Stalk the Broken. Stalk the Broken was a past fusion. He does find a little bit of use. He's definitely going to be useful in faction wars, for example, because he is the perfect complement to the faction unity champion Vizog. So the thing with Stalk is that he requires somebody on the team to kind of place HP burn so that his A3 gets maximum value. You can land 3 poisons and a weaken on a 3-turn cooldown with the continuous heals if there's HP burn already applied. He brings decent amount of damage as well for hard faction wars. And he also can, with his passive, actually be used in Arena, for example, because he can bypass block damage, which is a popular way to kind of disrupt the poison explode strategy in Arena. So he is, I guess, viable there as well. Generally a pretty good champion overall, got speed in all battles, and he will be up for grabs. Up next for the non-voids, we have Bad El Khazar. Bad El Khazar, we did use him a little bit for the event dungeon, just for a damage boost. Sorry, he's part of the undead. Bad El Khazar here, there he is. Yeah, so he brings quite a bit of damage here to boost up your damage dealer for those type of one-shot type teams. 20% extra damage for targets under poison. If you put him in a Pharaoh set, 9-piece Pharaoh set, or a 9-piece protection set, you're going to get, some 2 additional bonuses there, so up to 30% additional damage from Bad Alcazar. I mean, he's generally still a pretty good champion, but he's nothing insanely special nowadays, but he does get used for the damage boost here still quite often. Lastly, for the non-voids, we have from the Night Revenant, we have Theodore the Savant, still very good champion, can solo a bunch of dungeons and all that. So with food, he brings the plus speed, he brings poison sensitivity, the poisons on a 3-turn cooldown, as well as increased duration and activating them as well. A1 decreased speed, AoE, very, very strong. Good champion overall, good base stats and all that. He was definitely the overpowered GOAT for the normal dungeons before hard dungeons was dropped. And then he was a little bit less useful because they changed the way Ice Golem worked in hard dungeons, but he's still a pretty good champion overall. All right, let's quickly head over to the Void champions. Now, these Void champions must be some of the worst, the worst 3 Void champions I've seen offer in a while. We got Supreme Kale. Supreme Kale can be okay. I haven't seen any crazy content done by this guy, but he can be okay. He does do the increased accuracy, decreased resistance, similar to Balor The Lost. He does place poisons on an AoE here and cannot be resisted, which is super nice. And he has this passive here, which is pretty interesting, decreasing the target's accuracy, crit rate, and crit damage by 3% for each poison they are under. His A1 further does not require accuracy, and he can place an AoE weaken. I mean, we haven't really found a super useful place for him, but he is not a bad champion at all. Up next, we have Venus from the Sacred Order here. So Venus is still a very good champion, bringing the AoE, decreased defense, and weaken. She also brings AoE HP burn on a 4-turn cooldown. 4-turn kind of hurts it a little bit. If it was 3-turn, it would be a lot better. And then the A1 here with poison. She brings a lot of stuff and really good against bosses. A lot of stuff that's really good against bosses. And then she has this pairing with Cupidus, which makes her, obviously a threat with Cupidus. Good base stats, good base speed overall. Still a good champion overall, brings a lot of damage to bosses. And then lastly, probably the most underwhelming is Chagar. Chagar here, he does empower Ramontu. I don't know if that's any consolation prize to anybody. He does bring a sleep. It's not a 100% chance, which kind of sucks against Sand Devil, for example. I've seen this guy used in Arena for his passive ability where he just keeps attacking. And then he places enemies on it with sleep and can be very annoying. I've seen him used there a little bit. Chagar in waves can be very annoying as well when he starts instantly attacking with the A1 and then sleeping your team. But overall, I don't see too much use case for Chagar in today's environment. Now, that's the list of the 15x progressive event that we're going to be having in about 10 hours here. This event will last 3 days, so all throughout the weekend. But this is actually not the biggest news of the day. All right, let's talk about this update that Plarium is planning for the near future. A bunch of quality life stuff that's actually going to be very, very relevant. I read through this really quickly and I was surprised that they would actually bring some of this to the table. Let's quickly talk about this. So first, we got Tag Team Arena. You asked, we listened, the team agrees that the Tag Team Arena could use some improvements. We've been basically talking about Tag Team Arena and how it's just awful for years. And there's plenty of ideas on the table. One big change is already in the works. Expanding the tiers are happening later this year. So the thing with Tag Team Arena is that if you guys haven't noticed, a lot of some of the missions here require you for you to reach certain tiers. For example, trying to reach gold. The thing is with Tag Team Arena and gold is that they're limited to how many players can enter each tier. Having this fully expanded would definitely help as the player base has grown, and this has not changed since it was first introduced. I'm excited to see. I think this will make it a lot easier for people, and it's a bit of an update to some missions that were kind of really old without actually updating the missions. So they make the game around the missions now, and I think it's going to make things a lot easier for people to reach, for example, Gold 1. And it might be exciting to see some, new rewards or different types of rewards coming down the pipeline for the additional tiers. So I think that's a huge plus, huge change that they're acknowledging. Unfortunately, Tag Team Arena is still kind of, lackluster in terms of overall gameplay, to be honest. You're still just doing three battles, 3 classic arena battles, which is not, ideal. They could have done something interesting with the way they set it up. Maybe have like one fight and then have a couple subs on the bench and then you can sub them in like maybe mid fight or something. That would be kind of cool, kind of interesting. Like that would be more like, hey, tag you in, like, tag team kind of thing. Instead of just having separate teams, I think that would be a little bit more interesting, a little bit different. But anyways, maybe in the future. But for now, they're upgrading or expanding the tier system, which is definitely a good thing. So up next, they have a little bit of an update for Classic Arena. I think most people won't be affected by this, but this is something that the Platinum community has asked for a long time, and it's going to be blind reset. So what does blind reset mean? So basically what's happening in Platinum Arena, so when you're fighting for the Platinum placement, certain clans basically avoid their clan members or avoid certain clans because of agreements or whatever. And in this update, it says blind reset. So that means you won't know the name or clan, presumably, of who you're fighting. So it's more likely that you'll run into, random people as opposed to just cherry picking or targeting certain people. I think overall this increases like the fairness level of the top areas of Platinum. Obviously, like I said, this won't affect most people, but it's a good change, and I think it's a step towards being a more fair environment. All right, here's the big one. We got an update for Siege, and Siege is going to allow leaders to have more control by removing teams from buildings during the prep phase. There's also going to be a handy scroll counter, and it's going to track attack scrolls received and used. Now, I think that's a really, really good thing. It's been asked about quite often because this information is not actually available when you're actually in the battle phase. And having this ability to remove teams from buildings is actually pretty huge, because often you're trying to communicate with people, trying to get them to do something, or somebody's waiting for somebody else to do something. Then it gets really, really difficult. So having somebody have that control will be obviously very good. So I think overall, so far these updates are quite massive and quite well received so far. Next up, this might be the biggest one that might impact the most people actually, and it's going to be about silver. So silver cost here is actually very interesting. They're actually going to try to alleviate some of the silver cost by giving us a 1 hour free gear removal token in place of this. In place of this reward. So instead of this stupid substat charm, we're going to get a 1 hour gear removal token, which is a massive upgrade. That's a massive upgrade. And yeah, I mean, how many check marks and thumbs up can you possibly get? Now, the thing is, the 1 hour upgrade is probably going to be a 7-day expiry. But if they give it every day, you basically have 1 hour per day to have basically free gear removal. That's amazing. And I think that's going to help a lot of people because, if you had to break down the player population, how often they play this game, I would say most people probably don't play this game more than an hour a day. And then if you had the ability to basically have free gear removal for that 1 hour gameplay you play per day, I think that's a huge, huge win. And if you don't want to use these in one day, like if you don't use them every day, you can stack them for basically a whole day or multiple hour day of, re-gearing session. Maybe if you want to do your Hydra Chimera fights all in one day, you can use multiples of these in one day because they expire in 1 week, I assume, right? I hope so. I hope they expire in a week, not 24-hour expiry. A 24-hour expiry, I'll be like, but I wouldn't put it past Plarium to do that. But this is a massive, massive quality of life thing. I think it really, really helps a lot of people. And I think this is super well received. But Plarium is not done yet. They got gear management here. So they're going to update some of the sorting and filtering. I would imagine that they would do like the inverse of the searches that we have. So instead of searching for example, gear with stats, they will probably do something like searching for gear without stats. So for example, if I wanted to look for gear that didn't have speed, for example, I wouldn't be able to do that currently. But I think in the future, I think this would be the most logical thing to do, is to be able to search for stats that they did not have. Or you can search for gear level. So whatever level it is. So I can look for level 16, I can look for level 0. I think if they added those two in, I think that would be a massive upgrade already. But it'll be interesting to see what kind of upgrades they're making for the sorting and filtering of the artifacts. But I think that's going to be a massive win. Any way to give the player more control over that aspect is awesome. And lastly, this is the free-to-play player in me coming out and being like, yes, huge, massive thing here. We finally get Minotaur, and it's going to be a super raid kind of event that's happening for Minotaur. Now, it does say event. I don't know exactly what event stands for or what it means to Plarium. It could be just a single event where Minotaur is boosted and then maybe it happens once a month, for example. or they meant event as in, you know, this thing that's happening that's going to last forever. We don't know. We don't know exactly what event means for Plarium, but they are basically adding some kind of super raid to Minotaur, which is definitely helpful, especially for, you know, time constraints. We always complain that Minotaur takes too much time, and that's one of the biggest drawbacks to doing Minotaur, is that buying masteries is instantly happens, whereas doing Minotaur takes hours and hours and hours. Depending how far you are in your Minotaur farmer is, or how good it is. So for Plarium to finally give us a way to kind of reduce the time, I think that's a pretty big thing. They do also mention there's going to be an auto stop feature, so we can maybe set the amount of scrolls that we can want to obtain, which is, you know, obviously very good. Again, more control. I hope that they actually implement something like permanently. It sounds like it's not a permanent thing. Super raids events. I don't know. It doesn't sound like a permanent thing, but it'll be good to have something that actually helps people out in regards to this. I think it's a very small thing that Plarium has not done to address, you know, for the player base in years. Something around Minotaur. They could easily just give us like normal 25, and I think people would be happy with that. So at 25, you get more scrolls, right? Or just give us super raids all the time. Why not, right? I think it's something that they just need to do just to make, you know, just to appease the masses a little bit. But hopefully they make it more of a permanent thing. Anyways, guys, these are some massive updates, quality of life upgrades for us. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think about all this. Which one are you most excited for? There's no timeline on when they will be implemented. They do mention that it's going to happen throughout the year. So, you know, we don't have to, you know, hold our breath for it, but it will probably come sometime in 2025, hopefully. There's only like 6 months left to the year anyways. But good to see that it's on their radar and all that, so it's really good news. Anyways, guys, that's going to be it for the video. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think about all these upgrades and updates. And thanks for watching. Have a great day, and I'll see you guys in the next one.